Hello everyone, it's David from Automotive Press. I'm sitting inside my own Toyota Highlander, which I've owned for the last 3 years, and I really like owning this one, maybe even more than the Toyota 4Runner that we own in terms of city driving and highway driving, because the thing is really comfortable and smooth. But guess what? Toyota has just unveiled bigger, newer, better version of the Highlander called the Grand Highlander. It's much bigger, and it's also a proper 3-row SUV as opposed to this one, which does accommodate a 3rd row, but it's a bit tight out there. So I'm actually seriously thinking of trading this one in, because this is the 3rd year of owning the Highlander, and buying the new Grand Highlander. In fact, I'm going to give you 5 reasons why I'm going to be upgrading to the Grand Highlander from the normal Highlander. Let's get right into it. Welcome back. So for those of you who know me, you already know that I own a number of Toyota and Lexus products, because in my company we have a fleet of 6 cars, and my daily driver is actually the Lexus GX 460, which I just bought recently. But I also own the Toyota 4Runner, which is just a beautiful truck to own. Having said all that, the Highlander is the most sensible and a practical one. We use it for long distances. If I'm driving 2 or 3 hours away, or I need to be able to drive some passenger in the back for comfort reasons, the Highlander has always been the most practical, sensible SUV that is kind of almost like a minivan, because it's so spacious and it's also very comfortable for the passengers, and it's got a pretty good cargo space. Obviously, the RAV4 Prime, which we also own, is the fuel champ in terms of saving the gas. But as a daily driver, I would say the Highlander has been the most popular among my staff, because it's just a comfortable and a really practical vehicle to drive. But it has shortcomings, including the fact that the 3rd row is not a proper 3rd row if you want to sit there for long distances. And also, just generally speaking, there's a bunch of things that's missing in the Highlander, but really needed a facelift or upgrade, because the competition is getting more and more fierce. And that's why I'm super excited that Toyota has revealed the Grand Highlander, which we have been talking about for the last 12 months or so. And the new Grand Highlander is still built in Princeton, Indiana factory, same as this Highlander as well. But is there valid and good reasons to upgrade from the Highlander to Grand Highlander? Well, I'm going to give you 5 reasons why it's worth upgrading. First and foremost is the easiest one. Well, the Grand Highlander is quite a bit bigger in terms of length and obviously the interior roominess compared to its Highlander. Now, I have no problem in terms of front seat and the middle seat, but to gain that extra capacity in the 3rd row is a real bonus. Now I can actually take passengers in the 3rd row in total comfort. With the Grand Highlander, Toyota finally has a solution to compete with many of its competitors that have already come up with a big SUV with lots of space in the 2nd and the 3rd row. So that's the obvious first reason. Second reason is that I really wanted an upgraded version of the current Highlander in terms of engineering, in terms of design and functionality. Right now, the Highlander is sufficient in terms of offering a decent amount of technology and features, but the new Grand Highlander has the latest technology, including the Safety Sense 3.0, which features the latest safety technology from Toyota, as well as all of the updates in the interior, in terms of infotainment system. Even the instrumentation is fully digital. So there's a whole whack of improvements that is just not available in the current Highlander. So the second reason is that there's a lot more upgraded features, technologies, and options on the 2024 Grand Highlander. The third reason for upgrading to a new Grand Highlander is that I'm actually excited about the new powertrain. Now, I have to admit, losing the V6 engine in the Highlander is a bit of a sad news, because I really like this V6 engine in this Highlander. But you know what? The time is changing, and Toyota is moving away from V6 and putting turbocharged 4-cylinder, which is more efficient. So that's why I can live with that, because a new powertrain in terms of flagship model is the 2.4 turbocharged 4-cylinder engine with a hybrid, and that one has an incredible amount of power and torque, and the torque is maximized at very low RPM compared to a naturally aspirated V6 engine like this. So even though it's a smaller engine, it's going to feel much faster based on my experience driving other Toyota models with the 2.4 turbo hybrid. And you'll be most noticeable when you first step on the gas and take off, because the turbocharger kicks in, the hybrid is also working, and everything peaks at lower RPM. And from engineer's perspective, it's just more efficient and a better performing engine. So even though I'm going to miss the feel of a V6 engine, I'm not going to miss the performance of this engine, because the 2.4 turbo 4 with a hybrid will perform better than the V6 engine. And yes, that means for me at least, I'm going to only buy the flagship Grand Highlander, even though the Grand Highlander has two other engine choices, including the 2.4 turbo non-hybrid, and then also 2.5 liter four-cylinder hybrid, in addition to 2.4 liter turbocharged hybrid. So there are three engine choices altogether. But I'm going to go for the flagship model if I were to trade in this Highlander for the Grand Highlander. What about the third reason for moving up to the new model? Well, I actually like the styling better on the Grand Highlander. It has a bit more of a RAV4 look, kind of like a RAV4 and a Highlander mixed together. But I think the front end is a bit cleaner and more modern. And to me anyway, it looks better. The current Highlander is perhaps a bit awkward looking from the front, because it's got this kind of wide mouth, and to me it always looked kind of a bit odd. So I'm glad that they cleaned it up, and as a result the front design looks better. And actually the rear also even more awkward than the front, and it never looked good to me. But the Grand Highlander has more of a kind of a Toyota Sequoia look. It has more blocky look, and it has kind of a more of a rugged feel. And I definitely like the overall design of the Grand Highlander compared to the Highlander. There's no question that it's a better looking car, it's a better looking design, and so that's my third reason for upgrading. The fourth reason is something that I have to speculate, because none of us have driven the Grand Highlander. But typically speaking, if you take a car and you stretch it out and you end up with a longer wheelbase, it always rides better. It just, everything settles down. It's able to take bumps and rough road with ease, and generally speaking, the ride settles down. So I'm going to assume, especially with upgraded suspension and upgraded engineering, the Grand Highlander will ride and feel better than the current Highlander. So fourth reason for changing my Highlander to the Grand Highlander is that I think the new one will ride better, maybe even handle a little bit better, because everything has been engineered to a new standard, and therefore I think it will be a better car to drive. The fifth and the final reason for upgrading, at least for me, is that I think the Grand Highlander will be better value than a Highlander. Just because you get more features, more room, it's a larger SUV for not much more money, and perhaps even the resale value will be better, because generally speaking, North America loves big SUVs. So anything with 3 rows of SUV tends to have a really good resale value. So even though we don't know the final pricing yet, and we know for sure it's going to be more expensive, I think dollar for dollar in terms of space, features, and what you get in the Grand Highlander, I think it'll be a better value than buying the current generation of the Highlander. And perhaps 3, 4, 5 years down the road, it'll be easier to sell with more resale value, because North America loves big SUVs. So that's my sort of a speculation in terms of what might happen for resale value of the Grand Highlander compared to the Highlander. So those are the 5 simple but important reasons why I'm going to be trading this 2020 Highlander for a new 2024 Grand Highlander. And I know for me that will be a right decision, and perhaps for many of you guys it will be also a right decision to do that. And even if you're not moving from Highlander to Grand Highlander, but perhaps you're moving from RAV4 or some other competitor product to the Grand Highlander, I think it's worth a look, because you're going to get so much features for the money, and actually it looks pretty good. What do you guys think of the 2024 Grand Highlander? Do you like the design, the features? Do you think Toyota is moving in the right direction with the Grand Highlander? I think it will be, because this is a product that everybody has been waiting for, especially Toyota dealers who really wanted a full-size 3-row SUV. But let me know in the comments below some of your feedback. If you're able to give me a thumbs up, that'll be great. And if you haven't done so, please subscribe. Really truly appreciate for your help and your contribution. But until next video, I'm signing off for now. Thank you so much.